Hi there, folks. Welcome to my live stream. My name is Jim. I'm just getting a couple of things set up really quick. Just getting something set up real quick. Sharing this live out. And here we go. Folks, welcome to my live stream. My name is Jim, and I used to be a type 2 diabetic. And I love saying that I used to be a type 2 diabetic because I used to be a type 2 diabetic. I have reversed type 2. I'm in remission from it. I don't take medications anymore. That's because my doctor told me I don't have to. So, however you want to word it, I don't particularly care for the word cure. But however else you want to word it, I just don't have it anymore. And I love doing live streams and telling people exactly what it is that I do to achieve that. So a number of years ago, I started doing live streams on TikTok of all places. And through that world, I've just really gotten to know a lot of people and been able to help a lot of people with their type 2 diabetes. In fact, I would say that I've had a small piece of helping no fewer than 100 people reverse type 2 diabetes. And that's just a really cool feeling. And so here's the deal. It sounds like I'm just talking about diabetes, but we're not. And I'm going to build on that here in just a moment. If somebody has invited you to this live stream, that's the thing. If somebody's invited you here, then stick around. I last about an hour. This live stream will be about an hour long. Stick around for that hour and listen. Maybe this will be the thing that makes an impact on your life. Whoever it was that invited you here thinks that the information that I share may be of benefit to you. Now, we are streaming across like 15 different platforms, something like that. So we are live on Facebook. We are live on YouTube and Twitter. Hi, Jennifer. Hi, Renee. Courtney. Welcome, everybody. So whoever invited you to this, they think that the information that I'm going to share could be a benefit to you. So stick around and ask questions. I love to engage with my audience. I love doing that. It's my favorite part about doing live streams. And as you can see right here, this little ticker right here, this is live from people, or this is what they're saying as we're going. So you'll see a lot of people from different platforms. This little thing will pick up YouTube and all of them. So, okay, with that being said, we aren't just talking about type 2 diabetes. We're talking about a much bigger problem, which I'm going to go into detail here shortly. But I thought first off, what I wanted to do was I wanted to introduce somebody named Kendra. Now, Kendra is real special to me. I've known her for a couple of years now, and I met her through TikTok. And she's just got so much passion and so much life. And I asked her if she would join me here and kind of just give her story, her testimonial. And so with that being said, without further ado, let me get Kendra in here. Hi, Kendra.
Hi, Coach.
What I want to do is just kind of have you tell your story, if you will.
Okay.
How did we meet? Where were you at with your health at the time? Where are you at today? And of course, anything else that you want to throw into there. And I'm just going to kind of be quiet. Let me see if I can get this to do the right thing. That was backwards. You need to be the bigger one. There we go. That's better. Go for it, Kendra.
All right.
Go ahead and talk.
Well, I'm Kendra, and I'm at Jim. Well, actually, I was watching I call him Coach. It's just what he is to me. He's my coach. So I call him Coach, and that's where it's going to stay. I was watching him, 2024. I'm like, wait, we're in 26 already? What the heck? So I was watching him in 2024 in January. And honestly, I thought, first of all, that he was just selling something just to make money, just to, maybe pay for his Christmas that he spent maybe too much money on. I'm thinking this thing's a gimmick. There's no way this stuff works. There's just no way. He's talking about all these health issues and he's helping people, put them into remission and they're feeling better. And I'm like, yeah, right, whatever. Well, of course, back then I was in a seasonal depression mode. So of course, my mind and everything else wasn't, where it should be. So I just went, yeah, whatever. So I watched them pretty much most of the week for months, January, February, March, April. Finally, I'm like, you know what? I'm so sick and tired of being sick and tired. I've got to do something about this. All right. So if you ever seen, I'm going to describe it like this. If you've ever seen a train wreck and then a tornado comes through and takes it out even worse, if you can imagine that, that's how I felt. So I was type 2 diabetic. I've had anxiety and depression since age 25, and I'm 53 right now. Brain fog to the point where I couldn't even, it was bad. I couldn't even walk into my kitchen and remember why I even went there. It was ridiculous. I lived on ibuprofen, Tylenol, Advil, Aleve, because my body hurt so bad. I thought this stuff will take care of it. And if I go to the doctor, they're going to give me a pain pill. And I used to be a forklift driver in a warehouse. I clearly cannot take that medicine and then go drive. Lost you.
Oh,
There you
I
are.
got you back.
I was like, what? Yeah, I'm here.
All
right, cool. So I'm like, well, I clearly can't go drive my forklift and being on pain pills, so that's not going to work. So I just, did the over-the-counter junk. I had IBS for 10 years. I had chronic fatigue to the point where when I would go to bed, Courtney, Mountain Dew. I was terrible with Mountain Dew. That's my daughter right there. Mountain Dew, I drink Mountain Dew and Pepsi, probably, the 16.9 ounce bottles, I probably drink 3-4 of those a day, if not more. It was disgusting. That was my bad habit. Couldn't sleep for nothing. I'd wake up every 2-3 hours. I can't tell you the last time I had a good night's sleep. So since being on this system that Coach is going to talk about, Jim, Coach, however you know him, my anxiety and my depression is so much better, so much subsided. My brain fog has lifted. Am I a normal person? And do I have every now and then forget things? Yeah. Inflammation, my body doesn't hurt anymore. May 15th. Yeah, Janine remembers me as a train wreck. Yep. May 15th of 2024, I literally took my last 6 bottles of soda and I dumped them out. I was like, I'm done. So I quit drinking that. My IBS cleared up in 3 days. Sleep, I'll never forget. I'm sleeping at night. I get up the next morning. I slept 7 hours straight. And I remember my daughter messaging me and saying, Mom, what are you doing up already? You normally don't get up till noon. It was 9 o'clock in the morning and I was awake and ready to go. And I had gone to bed at 2 o'clock in the morning the day before. I feel like a whole new person. I feel amazing. I have energy. And I've got grandbabies and another one on the way. And I just had my 5-month-old grandson for 4 days and I kept up with him. That's priceless. And that's it. Here we are.
I'm trying to find him back myself, Kendra. Stop it. Kendra, and I just want to ask a few back and forth questions. What I love about you is obviously I said I led this with she's got so much passion. Audience, am I right? I mean, just brings the love here. You just mentioned you just got to spend some time with your grandbaby. I would imagine that involves rolling around on the floor, kind of playing and being able to do stuff like that. And just kind of build on that.
Well, prior to this, I have 2 older grandsons. One of them is 8 and 13. Oh my gosh. My daughter would invite me over like prior to taking this, and I couldn't even like visit for maybe more. Oh, this is hard. Holy shit. Sorry. Man. I thought I was gonna do good, coach. Focus. I'm trying to focus. So anyway, I would go over to her house like at 1 o'clock. I would literally have to get up at 10 a.m. just to have enough time to get ready to go to their house because I had no energy. And now I can I'm up. Courtney, what are you doing? No, I don't know. You want to come over, Mom? Sure. I mean, you know what I mean? Just living life instead of going through the motions is what it is now.
And this is going to sound kind of cheesy and corny, but you just gave me an opportunity. You opened the door for me, so I'm going to take it. The slogan is make life better.
Yep.
I can assume your life is better.
Oh, God, yeah.
Okay. Kendra, I'm going to let you off the hook. What I want to do is I think you've got everybody crying. It looks like everybody in the audience is crying. I'm going to go ahead. If you don't mind, I'm going to shut off your camera, and I want to keep you around for this live stream. So I'd like to bring you back out at the end for a Q&A. I'm going to take some questions with the audience, and if they have any questions with you directly for you, I would love to have you available for that. So does that work? Okay. Yep. Let me jump into what exactly is going on. What is Kendra talking about, right? This thing, that was a lot. That was heavy. How do I put this back? There we go. That was heavy. In a very positive way. I love that side of this. And I get to hear that all the time. That's not entirely unique. That happens quite a bit. Look at all the love that she's getting. Look at all the love that she's getting from so Kelly's here on YouTube. Courtney, it's her daughter, I believe, on Facebook. Okay, so what is this? How did I reverse type 2 diabetes? How did the inflammation for Kendra? How did all this thing work? Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about the Feel Great system here. And what is the Feel Great system? What are the products in the Feel Great system? What's the process? 2 great products, 1 great practice. So we're going to talk about what the practice is, what the 2 great products are. But before I get to that, let's talk about what the problem is. And I think that's the real thing, is that I don't know that most people even really understand what the problem is. And the big problem is something called insulin resistance. Now, this is kind of funny because as a type 2 diabetic, I was full on type 2 diabetic. I had a 12.2% A1C. And I didn't know what insulin resistance was. I'd never heard the term before. And once you understand the term, then okay, so what is insulin resistance? Well, to understand insulin resistance, you have to understand what is insulin. And you start kind of reverse engineering this. And once you figure it out, it's really simple to beat. It's really simple. And the reason I say that is I was taught, like so many other people, that type 2 diabetes is chronic and progressive. And we've heard chronic and progressive disease, chronic disease in so many different facets. How many other things have you heard that you have a chronic and progressive disease? Everything seems to be that. Well, maybe there's an underlying problem. Okay, so let's dig into that. What is insulin resistance? And to understand what is insulin resistance, again, we have to understand what is insulin. So let's just do a quick little rundown of that, okay? So insulin, when you consume a carbohydrate, now this is something like a slice of bread or a cookie or something like that, your body converts that into sugar, okay? And the type of sugar that it converts it into is called glucose. And glucose is a special type of sugar because that's the type of sugar that your cells use for energy. They have to have it. We need glucose. It has to happen, okay? Now, interestingly enough, your body will convert a chicken breast. I just had chicken for dinner. It's a little bit early here to have dinner, but I'm doing a live stream. So I just had chicken tenders, chicken breasts. They were not breaded or anything. They were, anyway. My body will convert that chicken into glucose, the amount of glucose that I need. That process is called gluconeogenesis. It will convert chicken proteins into glucose. But there is other food that already is sugar that your body will just do it faster, okay? And so let's talk about consuming a slice of bread or a cookie or something like that, your traditional carbohydrates. You convert that, you eat that, your body converts it into glucose. The glucose goes out to the bloodstream. This is what your cells use for energy. This is their fuel source, okay? The problem is the cell doesn't just get the energy. It has to be unlocked. The cell is locked. It can't just absorb the glucose. It has to be unlocked. And that is one of the roles of a hormone called insulin. And I say that very intentionally, a hormone. You've got a hormone problem. Now, so when you consume the carbohydrate, your body converts it into glucose. The glucose goes out to the bloodstream. That signals the pancreas to secrete the hormone insulin. Insulin goes out to the bloodstream. It reacts with the cell and kind of unlocks the cell for the glucose to go in. Now, when that happens, the glucose levels begin to normalize in your bloodstream. Voila, perfect world, right? Well, you've also got a hormone called insulin. That's happening too, and it begins to normalize as well. And that's a perfect world. That is an absolutely perfect world, right? The glucose comes down, the hormones level, everything starts to normalize. Voila, the body is fueled and it's ready to take on the next task. So what happens when it's not perfect? What happens when things don't go as planned? Because Lord knows that's what happens to all of us, right? Nothing seems to go as planned. So what if, say, you consume that carbohydrate, your body converts it into glucose, the glucose goes out to the bloodstream, that signals the pancreas to secrete the insulin, the hormone insulin, and nothing happens at all. Nothing happens whatsoever, okay? Well, that's what a type 1 diabetic's problem is. And so what happens next is the glucose levels, they never normalize because the cell never got unlocked. And so the glucose levels never normalize. In fact, they start climbing, and they climb, and they climb, and they climb. And eventually it will become toxic, and it will kill the type 1 diabetic. That is their problem. And so what does the type 1 diabetic do? Is they inject themselves with a synthetic insulin. That's what they're doing. Okay, and you ever talk to a type 1 diabetic, what do? They measure their carbohydrates. They know exactly how many carbohydrates they've had, right? Because that's how they control how much insulin they need to inject themselves with. They are very, very strict with their carbohydrate intake. And now for some reason, the rest of the world thinks, oh, I don't have to worry about that because I'm not them. I can let the glucose, the carbohydrates run wild in my body, and my body's just perfect. Well, look around you. We're all sicker. We're all fatter. We're all not getting healthier. We should all be watching our carbs, okay? Why? Let me explain this. So the type 2 diabetic, let's go to the other end of the spectrum. The type 2 diabetic, they consume that slice of bread, that cookie, whatever it is. Their body converts it into glucose, just like everybody else. The glucose goes out to the bloodstream. It signals the pancreas to secrete the hormone insulin. And this time the pancreas does. It secretes insulin. The insulin goes out to the bloodstream, but it doesn't play well with the cell. The cell doesn't get unlocked. The insulin is there, the cell is there, the glucose is there, but the cell and the insulin, they're not reacting properly because the cell has become insulin resistant. Okay, it's there, it's just not communicating well. The signal is broken. That's insulin resistance. So now what happens? What's the next thing? Well, a lot like the type 1 diabetic, the glucose levels don't normalize. In fact, they start to climb. But unlike the type 1 diabetic, what tells the pancreas to secrete insulin? That, rising glucose. So as the type 2 diabetic, or even just the normal healthy person, long before type 2 diabetes, everybody else, long before type 2 diabetes, their glucose levels are steadily starting to climb. Oh, so slightly, just a little bit. As that happens, the pancreas begins to secrete more insulin. And so as they're becoming more and more and more hyperglycemic, elevated glucose, elevated blood sugar, whatever you want to call it, they're also becoming more and more and more hyperinsulinemic, elevated insulin. Now that's the key right there. Hyperinsulinemia, elevated insulin. That is what's causing the cell to become resistant. We are overwhelming the cell with insulin, and it becomes resistant as a result. Now, I don't want to like overly simplify this because there's a lot of things that cause insulin resistance. Okay. For example, and I love to do this, we got a number of people watching right now on all the different platforms. Let me ask this question to you. How many of you struggle with sleep? Just say, I do. If you struggle with sleep, or if you've struggled in the past with sleep, just say, I do. I'm curious how many of you struggle with sleep, because that is going to contribute to insulin resistance. Stress. Stress is a huge contributor. How many of you have stress in your life? And if you have stress, what is it? It's probably financial, right? Probably. Most stress revolves around job, finances, that sort of thing. So there are a lot of things that can contribute to insulin resistance, but I want to focus on this hyperinsulinemia piece, okay? You can't have insulin resistance without hyperinsulinemia, and you can't have hyperinsulinemia without insulin resistance. They work together. So we're going to focus on what we would call insulin lowering strategies. Lower the insulin. If you can lower the insulin, you can begin to resensitize the cell to the insulin. Think of it like this. If you were a quarterback on the Super Bowl, right? Playing in the Super Bowl, and you know it's down to the wire. This is the last drive, and you're down near the opponent's end zone. You got to get it into the touchdown, and you're trying to call an audible. You're trying to let your team know what play you're going to call. Well, the stands are exploding, right? Everybody, the opponents, their fans are going crazy. Do you think anybody can hear the quarterback's commands? No, not at all. They can't hear the quarterback's commands. He's completely drowned by all of the noise. What would make it easier? If we thinned the herd. You start thinning the herd, and all of a sudden the signal becomes clear. That's what this is, okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to focus on lowering our insulin. And as we do that, we will start to resensitize the cell. Now, I want to lean into a lot of people because I understand that I'm just some random dude that you've never seen on Facebook or TikTok or wherever you're watching me from, right? So what I like to do is I like to lean into some people who really do know what they talk about and show some of the studies because I think proof matters. So to do that, I want to talk about this particular guy right here. Bear with me a moment. I'm going to go over to Google, and I just want to type into Google Ben Bikman. Now, what it'll do, it's going to bring up this guy. Dr. Benjamin Bikman, PhD, is a renowned metabolic scientist, researcher, and professor currently serving as professor of cell biology and physiology at Brigham Young University. If you're unfamiliar with Brigham Young University, this is the largest, it might be the second largest university in the state of Utah. They're huge. And at that university, Dr. Ben Bikman is a professor of cell biology and physiology. Well, we've been talking about cell, okay? Now, to go a step further, this is his profile on BYU's website. Brigham Young University, College of Life Sciences, Cellular Biology and Physiology. And if you just scroll down a little bit, you'll see his research interests. The focus of my lab, which is the Laboratory of Obesity and Metabolism, is twofold. Okay, so let's just break that sentence down. He oversees Brigham Young University's Laboratory of Obesity and Metabolism. Now, what Dr. Bikman does for a living is grow fat cells, and then he studies the disease that accompanies the fat. That's what he does for a living. Now, you'll notice he says he pays particular emphasis on the etiology of insulin resistance. Now, I want to kind of just break this down. He did a talk show a little while ago, and on that talk show, he made a very, very, very interesting statement. And I want to play this video from him. This is a guy who grows fat cells professionally. This is his entire job. And by the way, if you wanted to see this, you could see it on my YouTube channel, The Healthy Pitmaster. I'm on every major social media platform. But if you wanted to go watch this video, I have this video in my shorts on the YouTube shorts, not in my shorts. This is Dr. Ben Bikman talking about, well, just listen.
First thing, and this will blow some minds, you cannot have a fat cell grow unless insulin is elevated. It is Totally, completely, utterly impossible. Now, I know people want to say, oh, well, calories matter too. They do matter. But if you just take out that one single variable, if you deprive a fat cell of insulin, it cannot grow. 100% full stop. Take this from a guy who literally grows fat cells in my lab all the time. In a human model, you even see this. If you have a person with type 1 diabetes, they can eat 10,000 calories in a day. And all they do is skip an insulin injection and they will be as skinny as they want. In fact, this is so well known to that diabetic that it's a known eating disorder. It's more of a hormone disorder. But if they just skip their insulin injection, they'll be as skinny as they want. It's a condition called diabulimia. You only eliminate one single variable, the insulin. They cannot not only grow fat, they can't even hold on to it. So as much as calories matter, and they do, insulin is an absolutely necessary signal to tell the fat cell to grow.
How interesting is that? So what we know now is that if you've got excess fat, if you're somebody who says, hey man, I've got a little bit of extra weight, I'd like to drop the weight. Well, we've been taught calories in, calories out, and they do matter. Calories absolutely matter. But what we also know is that, hey, we need to be watching the insulin side of things. And nobody ever talks about that. Now, Dr. Bickman has a website, and it's called insuliniq.com. I highly, highly, highly recommend everybody join this website. It's free to start, and I have zero affiliation with it. I'm just a huge fan, a big fan of Dr. Ben Bickman. Now, he also wrote a book called Why We Get Sick. You can order it off of that website. You can order it on Amazon. You can get it anywhere. If you're looking to get healthy and you want to kind of understand this problem, that book right there will change your life. Now, Dr. Ben Bickman, because he cannot grow, the guy grows fat cells for a living, and because he cannot physically grow fat cells without insulin, well, he pays particular emphasis to the etiology of insulin resistance. Are we seeing the connection now? I hope we're starting to see the connection. How I got to where we're at. Okay. So what does Dr. Ben Bickman say insulin resistance causes? Now check this out. This image right here, I actually took this image from Insulin IQ, Dr. Bickman's website. If you just look at that image right there, this is what Dr. Bickman is saying is caused by insulin resistance. Strokes. You know what? How many of you associate with any of these conditions? In fact, if you associate with one or more of those conditions, would you just put the number one or number two? How many in the comment section? If you'll just put in the comment section, how many of those conditions on that image that was created by Dr. Ben Bickman resonate with you? Stroke, heart disease. And then as I go through those, know that stroke is a top 10 cause of death in the United States. Heart disease is another top 10 cause of death in the United States. In fact, number one. And Dr. Bickman would go so far as to say that insulin resistance is a greater predictor for heart disease than LDL cholesterol. We're all taught to look at LDL cholesterol like, hey, the bad cholesterol, you got to watch your bad cholesterol. Dr. Bickman says insulin resistance is a greater predictor for heart disease than LDL cholesterol. In fact, I would challenge you to go to Google and ask Google, is insulin resistance a greater predictor for heart disease than LDL? And Google will validate that for you. So another top 10 cause of death, number one, right? Obesity. 74% of Americans are either overweight or obese. How many of us are hyperinsulinemic by the way that we eat? Migraine headaches, dementia, insulin resistance of the mind. There's a breakthrough. Dr. Bickman's done a lot of work on debunking the plaque theory. Oh my goodness. Applying science. Osteoarthritis, childhood obesity. The fastest growing percentage of our population that's either overweight or obese is our children. Polycystic ovary syndrome, PCOS, number one cause of infertility amongst women in the United States, caused by insulin resistance. Fatty liver disease. Now we see the connection to fat and insulin. We know how insulin promotes that, right? So fatty liver. In fact, non-alcoholic fatty liver disease has now surpassed alcoholic fatty liver disease as the top cause of cirrhosis of the liver, yet another top 10 cause of death in the United States. Arthritis. And of course, I already mentioned osteoarthritis, and you heard Kendra talk about inflammation. Let's just talk about inflammation. How many of you suffer with that? Alzheimer's disease, again, dementia, insulin resistance of the brain, erectile dysfunction, migraine headaches, high blood pressure. We're talking about poor circulation. Boom. And by the way, erectile dysfunction, the number one cause of infertility amongst men. And now we have the top cause of infertility in the United States. Sarcopenia, that's a whittling away of the muscles. I already mentioned high blood pressure, type 2 diabetes. And in fact, let me just add in a few other ones, obviously pre-diabetes. That makes perfect sense. But what if we were to dig a little bit deeper? What if we were to dig into like multiple sclerosis? What if there was a connection there? What if there was a connection to skin tags? How many of you have those skin tags around your neck or chest area? See, insulin's a growth hormone. What if those were caused by insulin resistance? What about that darkening or discoloration of the skin around your neck or chest area? Maybe you have it on your knuckles or on the back of your elbow, maybe on the sides of your face in the center. A lot of people get it on their inner thighs. That's called acanthosis nigricans. There's your word of the day, right? Words of the day. Acanthosis nigricans caused by insulin resistance. What if we were to dig a little bit further? What if there was a connection to treatment-resistant bipolar disorder or schizophrenia? In fact, I've done videos on both of those. There's a doctor, Dr. Cynthia Culkin, out of the Pacific Northwest. She's a psychologist, and she's done some really fascinating work looking at the connection between insulin resistance and treatment-resistant bipolar disorder. Amazing. Amazing. What if autism? In fact, Dr. Bickman, the guy that made that image, would go so far as to say that if it wasn't something that was transmissible, like a cold or a flu, it was probably got something to do with insulin resistance. And it really just opens up Pandora's box. And so then the next question is how many medications are you taking to suppress the symptoms that are caused by insulin resistance? And I want to just break that mindset of chronic and progressive disease. Well, it's more of a symptom, isn't it? It really is more of a symptom of an underlying problem. And your medications are treating the symptoms, not the root cause. And that's why over time, you end up having to take more medications, right? It starts to add up now. It starts to make perfect sense. Hey, wait a minute. Yeah, I never dealt with the root cause. It just got worse and worse and worse over time. And as it got worse and worse and worse over time, well, you required more medications. Maybe you started off with one medication for pre-diabetes, and 10 years later, you're on 3 medications for type 2 diabetes, right? That sort of thing. Maybe you started off with a little blood pressure pill, not a big deal. And then that turned into a bigger blood pressure pill and a pre-diabetes pill and a cholesterol pill, right? Because you never dealt with the root cause. So we've talked about what is insulin resistance, what causes insulin resistance. There's a lot of things that cause it. We're going to focus on hyperinsulinemia. What causes hyperinsulinemia? And then, of course, we've talked about what does it cause, kind of everything. There's Pandora's box for you. You found it. Okay, let's open it up. Okay, so now how do we beat it? And how do these things really work? Let's dig into that. Okay, how does this really work? So again, let's understand what's happening when you consume that carbohydrate, right? You spike your blood glucose. Okay. Have that slice of bread or that cookie, or maybe you're spiking your glucose. In fact, let's talk about something called the glycemic index. Okay. I think to really understand this, we kind of need to understand what is the glycemic index. Now, this here is a write-up from the Mayo Clinic. We all trust the Mayo Clinic. It's one of the top heart hospitals in the United States and one of the finest in the world. And they did a write-up on the glycemic index. And I really just like the way that they describe it, because I think this is just easy to understand. The glycemic index ranks foods on a scale from 0 to 100. The low end of the scale has foods that have little effect on blood sugar levels. The high end of the scale has foods with a big effect on blood sugar levels. And in fact, if you just scroll down a little bit, you can see what the numbers are, what a low glycemic index is. 1 to 55 is low, 56 to 69 is medium, and then 70 and above is high. So anything 70 above is really going to kind of spike your glucose. Well, let's just scroll down a little bit further, and it'll talk about what types of foods are high. Well, high glycemic index, white rice, white bread, and potatoes. I would argue that we have those staples in our diet 3 times a day. Now, what's low on the glycemic index? Green vegetables, most fruits, raw carrots, kidney beans, chickpeas, lentils. I would argue that we don't have enough of those throughout the day. So what are we doing? We always spike our glucose. Now, let's just build on this a little bit. So we wake up in the morning, and again, maybe I'm not talking to you directly. Maybe I'm talking to a former you. If something I say begins to resonate with you, would you do me a favor and just type resonate, okay? We wake up in the morning and we have a cup of sugary coffee. Now, whether that sugar is the good old-fashioned straight tablespoon of sugar, or it's one of these mocha froca latte things, right, where we have just a bunch of sugar in a coffee. What are we doing? Immediately, we spike our glucose. And what happens to our insulin? Well, immediately, we spike our insulin. So right out the gate, we are hyperinsulinemic. Now, keep in mind, that's a hormone. It doesn't just come down like that. It takes time. It might take 6 or 8 or more hours for that hormone to normalize. Now, do we ever give 6 to 8 hours between meals? No. Why? Because we're taught to eat all day long, 6, 8 meals a day. Part of the standard American diet is all the snacks, right? And so all day long, we're kind of just feeding ourselves. Whether it's a sugary coffee, whether it's the Mountain Dew that Kendra was just talking about, whether it's a slice of toast, by the way, on the glycemic index, white bread is a 100. Think about that. You know, it's higher than sucrose, table sugar. That's just mind-numbing. We would never just sit there and eat tablespoons of sugar, but we'll eat white bread that's actually higher on the glycemic index than the table sugar. It's just crazy to think about, okay? So with that in mind, when do we eat white bread? First thing in the morning, slice of toast. And then we have it again at lunch in our sandwich, and then we have it again at dinner in our dinner roll. Now, are those the only 3 meals that we eat as a society? No. We've got sugary drinks mixed into there, and we've got granola bars and bagels and bags of chips and the candy bar, and we're just always kind of feeding ourselves. And so what are we doing to our body? We are spiking our glucose over and over and over again, right? And every time you spike your glucose, what does it do to your insulin? Well, it spikes it. In fact, your insulin never really had a chance to normalize. It never did, because as it started to come down, well, you spike it again. And then as it starts to come down, you spike it again. That's what we are doing all day long. And then the question would be, when did you start doing that? Did you start doing that yesterday? Did you start doing it last week or last month or last year or last decade? Or have you just been doing that your entire life? And along the way, all of that insulin that's been building up in your bloodstream that's causing a problem, right? We're measuring the A1C. Well, the A1C is fine. Well, for now it is. But there were other things like skin tags, like the acanthosis nigricans, the darkening or discoloration of the skin. Maybe you started to get some high blood pressure in your early 20s. Maybe you started to get some higher cholesterol in your late 20s. Maybe you started to put on some weight. It really began to become difficult to control the weight at 30, right? And then what's happening over time is it's taking more and more and more insulin to unlock the cells. You are building up this chronically elevated level of insulin in your bloodstream. You are becoming hyperinsulinemic all day long. And that hyperinsulinemia over time is what's causing the cell. And so all of a sudden, out of nowhere, 45 years old, you're type 2 diabetic. I don't know, I've been healthy up until now. Well, maybe that's because we've been measuring the wrong numbers. We've been measuring A1C. When was the last time you had a fasting insulin test? You got to ask for those. What's my insulin doing? Thing is, you might have caught this problem 20 years ago. Okay? So, what is the easiest way to break this cycle? What is the easiest, most cost-effective thing that you can do to break this cycle. Stop eating. Stop eating. Just pump the brakes a little bit. Do we really think that we need to eat 8 meals a day? Do we really think that we need to eat 6 meals a day? Is that really what these bodies are? These bodies running so incredibly inefficient that we have to eat 6 or 8 or 10 meals a day? No, that's not the case. In fact, did you know the world record for the longest medically supervised, and I want to just emphasize that, the world record for the longest medically supervised fast was 382 days, June 14, 1965 to June 30, 1966. Over a year, a gentleman named Angus Barberry went for 382 days with no food. He drank water, he took yeast extract, he took some vitamins and minerals, but he went without food for 382 days, lost 276 pounds. He started off at 456 pounds. When he hit his target weight of 180 pounds, he broke his fast. He lived another 25 years. 25 more years he lived, never put the weight back on. See, what Angus Barberry did was used an alternative fats, an alternative fuel source on his body. That is what fat is. Fat is an alternative fuel source. It's built into your body for times of famine. But the thing is, we never, ever, ever tap into that because we've got cupboards and we've got pantries and we've got all this boxed food. We've got stored refrigerators and we're always nibbling. So we never allow our bodies to tap into that like a bear would, right? A bear in hibernation, what he's doing is he's tapping into that. He's using his fat storage as a fuel. Now, we have been brainwashed to think that that is starvation. It's not starvation. It's biology. What's happening when you stop eating? Well, the glucose levels on their own begin to normalize. They just come down. They'll do that because you're not putting food into your mouth. They'll just naturally come down. And then what does that do to your insulin? Well, your insulin levels will begin to come down. Now, what did Dr. Bickman say just a little bit ago? In the presence of insulin, the fat cell must grow. In the absence of insulin, the fat cell must shrink. So as the insulin level begins to normalize, that tells your body, hey, we're not going to burn glucose for energy. We're going to burn fat. We're going to start burning fat. If you want to burn fat, start lowering your insulin. That is what will tell your body, hey, we got to start using an alternative fuel. There's no more glucose. We got to jump over and start burning the fat. Well, when that insulin is that low, guess what else you're doing? You're resensitizing your cells to the insulin. You're taking yourself out of that hyperinsulinemic state. Now, let's be a little bit more specific on this. Am I suggesting that you do what Angus Barberry did and went 382? No, not at all. Not at all. Okay, what we do with the Feel Great system, the practice. I say it's 2 great products, 1 great practice. The practice is 16 and 8 time-based eating. Okay, now what that means is that out of a 24-hour day, we fast for 16 and we eat within an 8-hour window. Now, when we have our 8-hour window, do we sit there and graze? No, we have 2 meals, no snacks. Why? Because we want the insulin levels to normalize between those 2 meals. Okay, now there's this guy, Dr. Mark Mattson. He's a neuroscientist, a neurobiologist out of Johns Hopkins Medical, has done a ton of research on this. He studied intermittent fasting for more than 25 years. And what he would say is that at about 12 to 14 hours, your body metabolically shifts its fuel source from glucose over to fat. You start burning your fat at around 12 to 14 hours. So when we fast for 16 hours, we're getting 2 to 4 hours, give or take. You know, every day's a little bit different, but we're getting 2 to 4 hours of good fat burning time. Now, am I going to say, hey, wake up in the morning and go 16 hours with no food? Well, that doesn't make any sense at all. Renee says, that was me every day before that. Yeah. Okay, so what are we really going to do? Let's talk about how we make this easy. At 8 p.m., stop eating. You've had dinner. You're full. You've had dinner. You don't need any more food. If you're going to the pantry after 8 p.m., it's not because you genuinely need to refuel the body. It's probably because of a bad habit. Now, what happens after 8 p.m.? You go to bed and you sleep for 7 hours, 8 hours, whatever it is. Then you wake up and we don't break the fast until noon. Now, from 8 p.m. until noon is 16 consecutive hours. What we're really talking about is skipping breakfast. Skip breakfast. Pretty achievable. We're not talking about Angus Barberry. We're talking about skipping breakfast, okay? Now, the other thing when you skip the breakfast is how much money do you spend on breakfast? I mean, it's going to be $5, $6, $7, $8, right? $10. Take that money. Let's set it aside. That's what's going to pay for the system. The system we're going to talk about, the two great products. Let's dive into the products. There are two products. The first one is called Unimate, and the second one is called Balance. Now, let me dive into these, and I'm going to start with Unimate because that's the first thing that you drink. Now, Unimate is available in 5 different flavors right now. Lemon, I guess 5 different variants. Lemon, this is kind of like an Arnold Palmer. It tastes really good. Lemon ginger, imagine an Arnold Palmer with a little tap of heat. That ginger snap, okay, that's what the lemon ginger is. I love it. If you don't like the heat of ginger, stick with the lemon. Right now, we've got a seasonal flavor, raspberry pomegranate. It's absolutely amazing. We've also got a decaf. If you're caffeine sensitive, there's a decaf version of lemon. And then what I'm drinking right now is the chocolate. This is mint chocolate brownie. It's absolutely delicious. It's decaf. You can drink it at night. And it tastes amazing. And that's what I'm doing. I've actually added another of our products. It's called Signal. And Signal, it's an electrolyte and it's a cherry flavor. And so when I put the two together, this tastes like that old cherry bonbon thing. It's absolutely amazing. In fact, give me a moment. I'm going to take a sip. Okay. So what is Unimate? Let's dig into Unimate. Unimate is a yerba mate extract. If you've never heard of yerba mate is a South American tea. It's been pretty widely consumed for about the last 500 to 1,000 years. In fact, it's the most widely consumed beverage in South America. More than just that, the indigenous people of the regions of South America that are now Argentina, Brazil, Paraguay, Uruguay, they would say that yerba mate was the drink of the gods. It would give them appetite suppression. It give them an amazing boost of energy. That's what they love about their yerba mate. Now, so yerba mate, the yerba leaf, is really only grown in that region of the world. So Unicity, they don't try and grow that leaf in Utah where they're headquartered. They grow the leaf in that region of the world. They bought the farms in that region of the world. They still pay expert farmers with a very trained eye who know when to hand harvest the leaf. They don't machine harvest it. They hand harvest it like it's always been done. And then they fire roast it like it's always been done. Excuse me. And then they extract the good things out of it. Now, let me dig into these good things inside of it, okay? The yerba mate, there is this chemical inside of it. It's actually called a polyphenol. This polyphenol that occurs naturally in the yerba plant, it's called chlorogenic acid. Now, chlorogenic acid has been studied ad nauseum. It's absolutely amazing. This thing that occurs naturally in vegetation. And I want to dig into this a little bit. Our problem is insulin resistance, right? So let's just start by going over to Google and let's ask Google about chlorogenic acid. Does chlorogenic acid reverse insulin resistance? And this is just Google's little AI overview. Yes, chlorogenic acid has been shown to improve and help reverse insulin resistance. And in fact, there's a lot of research that's been done on this. Don't take my word for it. Just scroll down here a little bit and you'll see this first thing right here, use of chlorogenic acid against diabetes mellitus. Well, that's actually National Institutes for Health. That is a .gov address. This isn't funny money news or something like that. This is real published research. If you click that link and read that, you will have done the research. If you scroll down just a little bit further, there's another one, roles of chlorogenic acid in regulating glucose. Remember, we're trying to regulate the glucose. The next one down, chlorogenic acid improves glucose tolerance, lipids metabolism. Look at the next one down, anti-diabetic and anti-lipidemic effects. Is it that hard to believe that something that occurs naturally in vegetation could be the answer, could be the solution? It's not that difficult to believe. So anyway, let's just scroll on a little bit further. Let's go over to Google and ask Google what foods have chlorogenic acid. And you're going to see coffee, fruits, apples, pears, berries, vegetation, guys. That's what this is. Oops, I didn't share the tab. Here, I didn't share the tab properly. I apologize. Vegetation. Okay, what foods have chlorogenic acid? Now, what I want to do is go over to some published research. This is NIH.gov. It's an official website of the United States government. This is PubMed. Anybody in the medical community knows exactly what PubMed is. This is where the doctors and scientists, this is where they're going to go to look up published research. Okay, so this study right here, the effects of chlorogenic acid on blood pressure, this is what they call a systematic review and meta-analysis of randomized clinical trial. This is kind of bulletproof. This is really this is the strongest type of research we've got out there right now, okay? And they conclude, in conclusion, the evidence from published randomized clinical trials suggests that chlorogenic acid intake causes statistically significant reductions in systolic and diastolic blood pressures. That is really interesting, right? Chlorogenic acid lowers blood pressure. If you have a blood pressure issue, well, maybe you should look at that. Now, this study right here, chlorogenic acid improves glucose tolerance, lipids metabolism, inflammation, and microbiota composition in diabetic mice. This one's really interesting as well, right? This study, they actually gave diabetic mice either chlorogenic acid or metformin. This was a side-by-side comparison. And look at that. The results showed that chlorogenic acid decreased body weight, so it aided in weight loss, and improved glucose tolerance and insulin resistance. That's what we're trying to do. And these effects were similar to those of metformin. That is really, really, really powerful. These effects were similar to those of metformin. Here's one on PubMed Central. Chlorogenic acid is a novel insulin sensitizer that potentiates insulin action similar to the therapeutic action of metformin. And then this one right here, I just like to throw this one in because everybody's heard about these GLP-1 drugs, right? Glucagon-like peptide 1, Ozempic, Mounjaro, Zepbound. Those are glucagon-like peptide 1 receptor agonists. They are synthetic forms of a hormone called GLP-1. You make GLP-1. Well, this study right here shows that chlorogenic acid induces that. If we just scroll down a little bit, indeed, there is recent evidence that coffee, which is heavy in chlorogenic acid, increases production of the incretin hormone, glucagon-like peptide 1. So what do? First thing in the morning is we drink our Unimate. Okay? So the first thing you're going to do in the morning is crack open one of these. You're going to get a bottle when you order it like this. There's a little line on the back that says Unimate. You just fill it up to that line with water. As you can see, I filled it up a little bit fuller. You can do it like you want to do it. Add your packet to it, shake it up, and then sip on it like I'm doing right now. I am sorry. I'm going to turn my light on here. I didn't realize how dark it was. And we're back. It was getting a little bit dark there. So what we're going to do is we're going to sip on this. Now, the reason the indigenous people of South America loved this tea so much was the amazing boost of energy that they got. You're going to get that same thing. So what is it that Unicity's done with this? They've taken that yerba mate plant, they've hand harvested it, they fire roasted it just like it's always been done, but then they stop the traditional process and they extract the really good things like chlorogenic acid. Now, let me see here. This is the product sheet from Unicity on Unimate. And you'll just notice down here, this line right here. The result is a proprietary extract that enhances the benefits of yerba mate and contains up to 10 times the amounts of chlorogenic acids found in a typical cup of coffee and 20 times the chlorogenic acids found in other commercially available yerba mate products. So there is a lot of yerba mate kind of making it out into the marketplace. This little packet represents about 20 cups of that stuff, 10 cups of coffee. In fact, I'm unaware of anywhere on earth that has a more concentrated version of yerba mate or of chlorogenic acid. Now, in addition to that, it's also got some other amazing things that maybe I'll spend some time on next week: theobromine and mate saponins and antioxidants. But what that chlorogenic acid is going to do is all the proof that you just saw. It's going to help lower blood pressure. It's going to help sensitize you to the insulin. It's going to help increase your GLP-1. In fact, let me just build on that. Dr. Ben Bickman, remember that guy? That guy from Brigham Young University. Dr. Bickman has now published research on Unicity's Unimate, okay? This study right here, you'll notice it was published in October of 2023. Yerba mate supplement exerts beneficial tissue-specific effects on mitochondrial efficiency and redox status in healthy adult mice. Now, I want to emphasize here, healthy adult mice, the reason he's using mice was he had to sacrifice the mouse to get to the tissue. And while that, we don't like that necessarily, but there aren't a whole lot of humans lining up for that right now. So it was done on mice. But you will notice that this was also led by Dr. Ben Bickman. And if we just scroll down a little ways, you will find the materials and methods. And he used Unicity's Unimate. Now, what Dr. Bickman found in this particular published research on Unimate was that it made you a more efficient fat burner. That's really what it was. It increased the mitochondrial efficiency. It made the cell burn more fat quicker. Dr. Bickman likes to describe it as parking a car in your driveway. If you sat in your driveway and just revved up the gas over and over and over again, you would never do that because, well, it'd be kind of wasteful, right? Well, that's what this thing is doing to your fat. It's doing that for you. While you're sitting there, it's helping you burn fat. Published research, proven. Now, in addition to that, he observed some interesting things with GLP-1 and went on a talk show and talked about those things. So this is not part of the published research, but again, if you wanted to watch this video, it's on my YouTube. You can go and watch it. It's in my YouTube shorts. But this is Dr. Bickman saying that Unimate increases your GLP-1 by up to 70% during a fasted state. And I say Unimate up to 70% GLP-1.
That I'll be sharing at a meeting in March in Las Vegas is that this yerba mate supplement called Unimate also increases GLP-1. We found in this experiment we did, the GLP-1 levels went up by about 70% in a fasted states, which is pretty considerable. That I'll be sharing at a meeting.
So that is amazing. So what we have is a product that Dr. Ben Bickman has now published research on. He says it increases your fat burning efficiency. It increases your GLP-1. We're going to see people lower their blood pressure. In fact, by the way, and I'm going to jump to the end a little bit here, but Unicity will guarantee that you're going to lower your blood pressure. They'll guarantee it. They're going to guarantee your satisfaction. If you don't like it, you get money back. Okay. So you're going to see guarantees like that. It's absolutely amazing. But most importantly, if you struggle with energy, if you're just tired, if you just find yourself really kind of lethargic, like it's hard to get going in the morning, this will help. This will make you feel amazing. If you have brain fog, right? You walk into a room and you're like, what am I doing here? You're going to see that brain fog begin to lift. It's absolutely amazing. But then in the background, what you've really got is some hard-hitting science really working on your insulin resistance. Okay, I wanted to try and stick to an hour, and I just don't think I can get mine compressed down to an hour. So I'm not even going to try to get mine compressed down to an hour. I'm not going to go too long, but I'm going to go a little bit longer here, okay? I hope you guys are enjoying this. Is everybody enjoying this? I hope you are. Hi, Carmel. How are you doing? Everybody, by the way, welcome to the live stream. Okay, so we've talked about Unimate. Let me talk about the second product. The second product is called Balance. Balance, okay? Now, let's build on Balance. Balance was developed by Rexall Pharmacy in the late 80s. Balance has been around for a very long time. Maybe you remember Rexall Pharmacy. This was at one point the largest independently owned pharmacy chain in the world. It was huge. In fact, at one point, there were 11,600 and some Rexall Pharmacy stores, all of them independently owned. And for reference point, there's about 13,000 McDonald's right now. So about as frequently as you would see a McDonald's today, you would have seen a Rexall in their heyday. They were really, really big. Now, unfortunately, they kind of lost their edge pricing wise to the big corporations like Walgreens and CVS, but they're still around. You'll see spots of them every now and then. They're still in the United States. They're still really prominent in Canada. Rexall developed BioSlife in the late 80s, put it to market in 1990. Now, what Rexall thought was, we need to come up with a fiber supplement. They saw that the food industry was removing fiber from the food. And we're going to build on this a little bit. And so what Rexall thought was, hey, we need to give that back. Let's supplement what the food industry is taking out. They also saw this giant movement for multivitamins. Remember in the 80s, I mean, everything, Centrum and the Flintstones vitamins, and multivitamins was a big deal. They still are a big deal, right? Well, what Rexall thought was, hey, what if we put these two things together? What if we put those together? Would it increase the consistency at which people did it? Would they constantly do the thing? Otherwise, they might miss the fiber one day, might miss the multivitamin the next day. And so if they put them together, would that increase the consistency in which they do it? So that's what they did. They developed a blend of fiber and they paired it with a multivitamin, put the two together. Now that thing was kind of groundbreaking, but let's build on what is the fiber situation. Why does fiber matter? We're talking about insulin resistance. How does this thing actually help? Well, let's talk about sugar in nature. Sugar in nature. If you look at sugar in nature, it always comes wrapped in fiber. I shouldn't say it always does. There is an instance where it does not come wrapped in fiber. I'll get to that in a second here. But for all intents and purposes, anytime there's a sugar, it comes wrapped with fiber. If you look at the white rice or the brown rice, the thing that we eat is called the ectosperm, and it comes wrapped in nature in bran. We know it to be wild rice, right? Not many people like the wild rice because that little paper husk gets stuck in your teeth, right? It's annoying. It's kind of tough. So what do? We strip that off. We give you the ectosperm, just the sugar, just the sugar. Now that fiber was there for a reason. That's the way that nature intended you to eat it. But we get rid of it and we give you just the sugar. And where else do we see that? You see that in flour, right? That's the flour today, the white processed flour, the sugar cane, that bag of sugar. Well, that's not the way that it comes in nature. Sugar cane comes wrapped in fiber. We strip that off, we highly process it, we give you just the sugar. Now, why does fiber matter? So there are two different categories, if you will, of fiber. There's a soluble fiber and an insoluble fiber. So insoluble fiber does not dissolve in water. Soluble fiber does. So insoluble fiber, I like this. This is going to sound kind of gross, but it's the way that I like to describe it. It looks the same raw, cooked, and pooped. Corn is a great example of insoluble fiber, as is quinoa. These foods, you would eat them. When you buy them in the bag, they look one way. When you boil them, they still look the same way. When you eat them and the next day you're in the restroom, they still look the same way. It looks like you didn't do anything, but they did. They went through your body like a roto-rooter. They got rid of all the things that you don't need, all the things that you don't need to consume, and flushed it out the backside. They get rid of the excess, so you don't have to absorb that. Now, soluble fiber dissolves in water, and it forms this thick gel-like substance, okay, like a slime, if you will, and that coats your gut tract. Now, when you consume that carbohydrate, that piece of sugar, it lands in that gel-like matrix, and it really slows down your body's ability to process that. So it doesn't convert it quite as quick. The fiber really slows down that process. So how does this work? Instead of getting a quick high glucose spike, you get a slow, gradual climb. And what does that do to your insulin? You get a slow, gradual climb there as well. We don't spike the insulin. Okay, so with that in mind, let's convert back to the conversation about balance. And let's talk about balance compared to, say, Metamucil or Benefiber or something like that. And I don't have a problem with those whatsoever, but they're not the same. And I'm going to explain why. Metamucil would be psyllium husk, right? And benefiber is wheat dextrin. Now, Balance developed originally as BioSlife. If you hear me say BioSlife or Balance, they are one and the same. Balance is 7 different types of fiber, not just one. And each individual type of fiber, whether it's guar gum or oat fiber or beta glucan or citrus pectin, there are different types of fiber, and each one of them has a purpose. One of them helps with cholesterol, one of them helps with LDL, one of them helps with blood glucose. Each one of them has a purpose. And then it's paired with the multivitamin. Now, that little thing developed in the late 80s, put to market in 1990, that caught the eye of the Cleveland Clinic in 2001. And what I want to do really quick, just to kind of set this thing up, let's go and just head over to Google and ask Google, what is the top heart hospital in the United States? And Google will tell you it's the Cleveland Clinic. Boom, right there. The Cleveland Clinic is the top heart hospital in the United States. Now, why do I bring them up? Well, because this study right here, you'll notice it was published in Metabolism Journal, September of 2002. Fiber and multivitamin combination therapy, a beneficial influence on low-density lipoprotein and homocysteine, LDL. How many of you are concerned with your cholesterol levels? This study right here looked at a fiber and multivitamin combination therapy. Now, if you wanted to read the whole thing, you could go down and click this little link right here, and that will bring you to here. This is the actual publication. This is the published research, Metabolism Journal, fiber and multivitamin combination therapy. Now, this study is really interesting. This is what they call a double-blind, placebo-controlled, randomized clinical trial. It was peer-reviewed. It was published. And you can see right here, it's been cited 18 times. This is really quite compelling research. This is strong, strong research. Now, again, if you try to read it here, you can only see the abstract. What you could do is hit download full issue, and that will download the entire issue. Or you could head over to unicityscience.org, and you can see the entire published research right here. Okay, this is that study. And if we scroll down a little bit, you'll see from the preventative cardiology section, the Cleveland Clinic Foundation, Cleveland, Ohio. This was submitted November of 2001, accepted 2002, was published September of 2002. And if we scroll down just a little bit, you will see the fiber tested was BioSlife 2 from Rexall Sundown Corporation in Boca Raton, Florida. And what they did was, again, looked specifically at LDL. So if we just scroll over here a little bit, you'll see the LDL response. This is the America's top heart hospital studying this exact product. By the time of the interim visit, which was 4 weeks after randomization, the treatment group demonstrated significantly lower LDL-C than the placebo group. That trend continued through the next 4 weeks to the end of the blinded phase. Now, if you want to know what significantly lower looks like, if you just scroll down a little bit, you can see the actual numbers. There is the LDL response as reported by the Cleveland Clinic. Total cholesterol, HDL. In fact, they looked at a lot of different things, triglycerides, body weight, glucose, ApoB. And if we just scroll down a little bit, we have a really, really interesting conclusion. It's the last sentence in their study. Such a product, if taken regularly, could reduce cardiovascular risk on a population basis and potentially decrease the need and or dose for lipid-lowering prescription drugs. Let me just break that sentence down a little bit because, you know, that's just a mouthful. Such a product, they're talking about BioSlife, if taken regularly, well, we take it every day, could reduce cardiovascular risk, that's heart disease, on a population basis, that's everybody, and potentially decrease the need and or dose for lipid-lowering prescription drugs. Those are statins. So what does this sentence reread? BioSlife, if taken regularly, could reduce heart disease for everyone and potentially decrease the need and or dose for statin medications. Wow. Now, how many of you are on a statin medication? As of 2019, 92 million Americans were on a statin medication. And I'm just going to add one little piece here. This study right here, wrong study. This study right here. This is PubMed Central, assessing the link between statins and insulin intolerance. This is a systematic review. Do statin medications cause insulin resistance? Wouldn't that be diabolical if statin medications caused insulin resistance? Well, guess what? They looked at nearly 47 million participants. The findings suggest that the use of statins is associated with a decrease in insulin sensitivity and insulin resistance. This systematic review provides evidence that the use of statins may have an adverse effect on insulin sensitivity and increased insulin resistance. These findings may have important clinical implications for individuals on statin therapy, especially those at risk of developing diabetes. So if you are concerned about your cholesterol and you want to start a statin, just know that there is a strong possibility that they cause insulin. I mean, that was really strong proof right there that they cause it. In fact, there were some other studies that showed a 55% risk of incident type 2 diabetes with statin medication usage. And what the Cleveland Clinic told us more than 23 years ago, 23 and a half years ago, was that BioSlife balance could potentially decrease the need and or dose. And of course they use verbiage like could potentially. If they said would and it didn't, they would get sued, right? So let's be okay with potentially. Now, one final piece. If you are familiar, maybe you are not, the physician's desk reference. How many of you guys remember the PDR, the physician's desk reference? This book right here, this has been printed every year since 1946. This is their 2003 edition. This thing is what you would have seen it on your doctor's desk, right? This is their Bible, if you will. This is where the doctor goes to look up information about commonly prescribed medications, things like Ozempic, things like metformin, things like rosuvastatin calcium or atorvastatin calcium. They look up the contraindications, the drug interactions, and all that. That's where they get that information from, is the PDR. Now, why do I bring up the PDR? Here we go. Let's just talk a little bit about the PDR. This right here, the physician's desk reference, it's now digital and you have full access to it. It's the prescriber's digital reference. That's the digital form of the physician's desk reference. It's still part of the physician's desk reference suite of goods. And we can type into here Unicity. And you will find that Unicity has 19 different instances of their products in the PDR. It is absolutely amazing. Now, why do I bring that up? Well, here's Unicity Balance. If you wanted to click Unicity Balance, you could scroll down and see the prescribing info. Fat chance of it getting prescribed in the United States, but there is prescribing info. And you'll see Unicity Balance, also known as BioSlife. And here's all the information. If you wanted to show it to your doctor, feel free to show it to your doctor. It's fiber. This is food. It's food. That's the thing. This is a science-based company putting forth a food-based product. Now, they also have Unimate in there. But what I want to focus on, let's see, Unicity, Unimate, we'll just point that out. The T is in the physician's desk reference as well, right there. Unicity, Unimate. Now, why do I bring that up? Again, prescribing info, full prescribing info. These are both in the physician's desk reference. There are no side effects. There's no contraindications, nothing. Okay. Now, if we were to go and look up, say, yerba mate, we'll search the PDR and there are no results found. If we were to look up Metamucil, we'll just say search again. And again, there are no results found. So the fact that it's in the physician's desk reference is really, really, really something to say as well. Now, Unicity is HSA or Health Savings Account and FSA, Flex Spending Account approved. So you can use your HSA funds, your FSA funds towards that. The other thing, remember our fast, about $8 a day we're saving there. This system costs about $5 a day. When you pair it with the fasting, which is part of the process, it pays for itself. It's kind of cost neutral, if you will. Now, how does that work out? That works out to 159 US dollars. It's available in 50 something countries globally. It's available in Canada, Mexico, Puerto Rico, Colombia, all throughout Europe, the United Kingdom, a couple of countries in Africa, the Middle East, the Far East. It's available in over 50 some countries, this system right here. And so when you go to the referral link, whoever sent you to this live stream, they thought that this information would be a benefit to you. I hope that it has been a benefit to you. I hope you see some of the value in this. Give the system a try. Here's the deal. Unicity guarantees that if you try their product for 90 days, give them 3 months, give them 90 days of your life, they guarantee your satisfaction. They guarantee you'll lower your cholesterol, your blood pressure, your blood glucose. They guarantee it. If it doesn't, ask for a refund. They will give you all of your money back. Okay? There is no scam. There's no funny money. Ask for a refund. If you're not satisfied, just get all your money, 100% of your money back. Nothing to lose. You have nothing to lose and everything to gain. Okay, what I want to do is open this up for questions. We've seen a lot of comments here, and I know I went a little bit long, guys. I've decided it's going to be really difficult for me to get this into 1 hour, which I want to do, but by the time I get to all the science, it really is just tough to squeeze this in. And by the way, there's a lot more science. There's like 24 clinical validation studies done on these two products alone. I could go on for days. UCLA, UNLV, the University of Sydney, Australia, a lot of different places have studied this. I just chose those two studies. Maybe I'll shoot some other studies next week. What I want to do is bring Kendra back here and see if anybody has any questions whatsoever. Kendra, can you think if I missed anything here?
No, in my opinion, I think it's just one of the best things that is out there. I've tried the Weight Watchers, the Atkins, Jenny Craig, Golo, Plexus, Amari. I mean, you name it, I've tried it, and I've always lost the weight, gained it back, and then double gained it back. And this is the only thing, honestly, that I've been able to be on. It's simple to use. You literally take the packets with you no matter where you go. And I've been able to keep the inches and the weight off that I've maintained that so far.
That's amazing. Okay. So get with the person who invited you here. I do want to add in a couple of things to add in. If you don't like listening to some random dude, I get it. I know my place in this world. There's a lot of doctors who are talking about this as well. On Monday evening, there's a gentleman named Dr. Dieter Wufuan. Dr. Dieter's practicing internal medicine, Dallas-Fort Worth, medical doctor. He does a call every Sunday and every Monday. The person who invited you here, if you'd like to listen to Dr. Dieter speak about it, 8 p.m. Eastern, every Sunday, every Monday, you can go listen to Dr. Dieter. He also does a Thursday one midday. So there's one tomorrow afternoon. If you'd like to listen to Dr. Dieter tomorrow afternoon, get with the person who invited you here. They'll share that link with you. On Tuesdays, there's a gentleman named Trent Tueller. Trent is one of my mentors, easily one of the finest human beings I've ever met in my entire life. I feel like I get better just by standing near him. Trent does a live stream, and he used to work for Unicity. He knows this stuff like the back of his hand. Now, Trent hosts a live stream every single Tuesday night. That's at 9 p.m. Eastern. And that call, he brings in all sorts of medical professionals. One of his strongest co-hosts is a gal named Lindsay Venn. Now, Lindsay Venn is the director of medicine for Dr. Ben Bickman. She is amazing. Okay. So you can go and listen to those other live streams if you would like. Just get with the person who invited you here and they can share the link there. The biggest takeaway is get with the person who invited you here. They care about you. Okay. And if you did enjoy this live stream tonight, then bring somebody back to it next week. I'm going to do the exact same thing next Wednesday, 7 p.m. Eastern. And I want to add one final thing. I see a lot of people commenting in here. Yvonne, thank you. Jennifer Ellis, thank you. Rhonda, this is fun. I really enjoy doing this. I want to add to this. If you are like me, and hopefully you aren't like me, right? Because I'm a mess. But for most of my life, I really was questioning what my purpose was. What was I here for? Why did God put me here? I didn't really understand. And at some point, I really started thinking, well, he didn't have any plans for me. I must just be fathering somebody who's going to be a president or something like that, a Nobel Peace winner, prize winner, something. I got to thinking that was my purpose. I'm not here because I'm not contributing to society. If I have said something that resonated with you in this live stream, if there was something that I said that you were like, hey, I like the way that sounds, and I think I could get behind something like this. If that is a thing for you, if you have a piece of you that wants to get out and help your community or your family or try and solve a bigger problem, if you're looking for that sense of purpose, as I was for so many years, get with the person who shared this with you, and there is a referral call, a program, a Zoom call tomorrow night that really will talk about the referral program. If you're interested in learning more about that, get with the person who invited you to this live stream, and they will share that link with you, and you can learn more about that too. That call there'll be 200 people in there. The microphones will be muted. Nobody can turn their microphones on. You can turn your camera off. You can just be a fly on the wall and listen. This is a great group of people. Correct, right? Okay. I don't see any questions coming in, and I did go a little bit long, so I'm going to keep this really brief. Kendra, there are a lot of people who are watching me and thinking, this is snake oil. This can't be real. This is too good to be true.
Right.
Kendra, you got 30 seconds to talk to one of those people. What would you say to them?
I would say if you're sick and tired of being sick and tired, and if you've gone to your doctor for the past, I don't know, 1, 3, 5, 10, 15, 20, 30 years, we've heard, and nothing is working, and all the medicine that they're giving you to fill up that wonderful Sunday through Monday container, give this a try, because it literally changed and saved my life. Just think, if you order it right now, March, April, May, 3 months. Try it.
Mm-hmm.
It's not going to hurt you. It can only help you.
What would Memorial Day look like?
Yeah.
What would Memorial Day look like?
Just try it.
Okay. I don't think I can beat that. Kendra, thank you so much for joining me tonight. And guys, I tried to squeeze last week into 60 minutes, and I tried to squeeze the week before into 60 minutes. The doctor squeezed theirs into 60 minutes, which tells me I should be able to do it. But I like to just bring so much information because I know that people are skeptical. So I don't think I'm going to try and do that. I don't like feeling rushed. I feel like I start to leave information out. So I think I'm just going to go a little bit longer than the 60 minutes. I don't mind doing it if you don't mind listening to me, okay? We'll do the same thing again, 7 p.m. Eastern next Wednesday. You guys are amazing. Kendra, you're amazing.
Thank you.
Bring somebody to next week's live stream. Somebody who's never heard of this, bring somebody there for me. Let's Unicity's slogan is make life better. Let's help make somebody else's life just a little bit better. Thank you, guys.
Thanks.